All right. Good morning or good evening, everyone. Lovely to have you with us and to have a number of people live, including our very special guest today, of course, Daniel Patterson. Welcome to your first Mastermind. Thank you very much for coming along.
Yeah, no problem. I'm happy to be here.
It's going to be great to have a bit of a chat with you today. And of course, we've also got the lovely Ellen in the Hangout room. Hello, Ellen.
Hi, how are you?
Very good. And Karen, hello to you too.
Good to see everyone.
Yeah, it's great. And look, we've got 16 people live. So we've got Jacqueline said hi from Napa. Alison's here in Melbourne. Good on you, Alison, because it's, of course, a public holiday here, which I totally forgot when I set this one up. So it's 9 a.m. on a public holiday. Good on you, Alison, for being here. We've got Teresa from Hartville, Ohio. Brendan's here from Houston. Laura from Texas, Mindy from Texas as well. Robin's here from New South Wales, also on a public holiday. Kim from Wisconsin. So hi everyone. Keep saying hi as you log in. Be great to hear who we've got live. And apologies for the late start. For some reason, my microphone wasn't working, even though I've been testing it for the last hour. So anyway, we enjoy these kind of fun technical challenges, and I've just found out that my website's offline as well. So the InnerCircle is working beautifully, but my main website has been down for however long. The fun of running website businesses. Anyway, so look, I thought while we just wait for a few other people to log in before we start our sort of business chat today, I did want to just mention a few bits and pieces from the last little while. I will announce the 4-week challenge winner in just a moment. That's our very exciting little, everyone's a winner, of course, in any of these challenges, but it's kind of fun to pick a couple of people and make note of the amazing things that they've done. So I'll do that in just a moment. But I did want to mention as well that there'll be no Mastermind in July because of all the piano conferences and traveling that many of us are doing. So this kind of Mastermind, instead of being a live one online, will actually hopefully be live if I get to see you in either Denver, Colorado, or at the NCKP, or at the APPC in Australia too. I'm just going to mute Linda. Have you got headphones there, Linda?
Yeah.
Hello, lovely to see you both. Oh, there we go. That's better. Nice to see you this morning.
Hi. Hey, Ellen. Hey.
Hi, Linda. How are you?
Good.
Hey, Linda, have you got a new haircut?
Yeah.
Yes, I did.
Yes, I have.
Oh, Linda, you got a haircut too. We both have new haircuts.
All right.
I like it. I like it.
It's good.
Very nice. And have you got a public holiday up there in Queensland?
No.
Okay, that's good. I don't feel so bad then getting you on the call on today then. All right. So no Mastermind next week. We'll resume these online ones in August because, look, I know many people are going to be at one of the conferences, either the Australian one in Adelaide coming up or the national Chicago one. So hopefully I'll see you. In fact, there's going to be a few members at the 88 Creative Keys, so that's going to be great to hang out there too. So that's the first bit of news. Second bit of news, hopefully you've seen that Carol Matz has joined our expert crew, which I'm very, very excited about. The podcast that I did with her, once we connected on that and I saw the things that she did and believed in, I realized then why I love her arrangements, number one. And our connection and teaching strategies just, really made so many connections between them. So I thought she'd be a fantastic support to have. So you'll see her around more and more, and feel free to tag her when you've got any questions, and I'll do the same for her. So that was Carol. And also, as you know, we were talking just recently, there was a little bit of chat about my music staff versus music teacher's helper. And I was explaining that while I was using Music Teacher's Helper this year, when I tried to do automatic monthly billing and recurring stuff that I've just been blogging about last week, it was incredibly difficult and I found the whole process incredibly tedious. So I thought, all right, let's give my music staff a go as well. And I have to say that the outcome of that was so painless. The support was brilliant. And it was set up in such a short amount of time. So I have to say that I'm very impressed with my music staff. What do you guys do? Either of you guys use either of those two software packages?
I use my music staff.
Yeah. And you're happy with my music staff, Ellen?
Yeah, I've used it for now 2 years, and it's getting better and better. The price is great. I live off of it. It's everything that I do is on that website.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah, and their support, I think their support is phenomenal. Very quick support,
Yeah.
but also the pop-out support on the right-hand side is great too.
Yeah, it's just well done.
So the good news there is that I'm working on a little bit of a special discount for people who would like to try it out. We're going to be working towards about a 90-day free trial, and possibly something also if you're already on there. Still, I'm keeping my fingers crossed that if you're already a member, you'll be able to access some kind of discount, but that's still to be confirmed. We've got a bit of a phone ringing in the background. So on the other news there is that Todd, who's one of their head team members, is going to be in the inner circle as well. So a great person that can answer a lot of questions on studio business, obviously my music staff questions, all that kind of stuff. So look out for him too. All right, so now I want you guys to, so if you're listening to this and just watching, please start popping some questions for Daniel in the live chat window, and I'll make sure we bring them up. And obviously, Ellen, Karen, and Linda, if you guys have any questions, you'll be able to ask them. Oh, we might give you the first options to ask some good questions of Daniel. Of course, Daniel is a total superstar when it comes to all things growing your business. Hopefully many of you have heard the podcast where he tells his story a little bit, but look, he started with summer camps and now consults to music studios, independent teachers, and also whole music studios with multiple teachers about how to grow and market their business. So we might get Daniel to introduce himself in just a moment with a quick couple of things that he's most passionate about. But I did want to make some special mentions for the last 4-week challenge. So for those of you who are involved, there was at least one person on this call who I was going to give a very special mention to. Ellen, the person who kept us laughing the most through the entire month, honestly. You get the award for best title, which the title was Ellen's 4-week challenge or how not to die. And you didn't die. You did a very good job. And literally had me, I don't often write LOL, but you did make me laugh out loud on just about every single post. So congratulations to you. Thank you very much for joining us and the good things that you did this month.
You're welcome.
So in third place this month, I'm going to be giving it to Rosemary. She has been journaling her progress in the Growth Journal forums for quite a while. And so she moved across in May to talk about the 4-week challenge and her results and her goals there. She has done some amazing things creating her own blog. She's actually done some very cool things with recitals. So if you want to know how to use beach balls as a nice, cheap and easy gift to give your kids, and how that works in a recital, then that was one thing that I really enjoyed about learning from her. She also taught me a little bit about what to do with rhubarb and gave me a great recipe for brownies. So, you know, it's not just about piano teaching here in the inner circle. So Rosemary, well done to you. It was great fun reading all the stuff that you got up to. In second place, I'm going to give it to Sarah, who literally just decided in that month to start teaching groups of really young kids, and by the end of the month had run a number of group classes with some boys. I think she had maybe 3 or 4 boys. I can't remember. Ellen or Karen, you've been keeping up, and Linda, of course, you've been participating too. She chose Kinderbeat. She downloaded curriculum. She taught herself what to do, and she just went, all right, I'm going to do it. And she did it. I thought it was phenomenal. What do you guys think?
Yeah. It's pretty amazing. It's a big learning curve, and she did it.
Yeah, huge learning curve, and she just went, bang, I'm just going to do it. And I thought that was just really, really great. So well done to Sarah. She also talked about scrapbooking, and she was riding her bike as well, so getting the exercise, health stuff sorted, really good. And so drum roll for first place is, thank you, Georgina. I don't know if you remember, if you've read any of Georgina's posts, she's almost written a book in the process of telling us about her goals here. It's phenomenal posts in detail, just amazing. The stuff that she was the goals she was setting and the way she was achieving them and the way she was explaining all her ups and downs. I thought was just phenomenal. So congratulations, Georgina. You'll be getting my very special Piano Teacher's Survival Kit. We'll be posting that out to you very soon. Thank you all for joining. Linda, you're definitely a part of this one as well. I hope you found some success. I really liked your goals, actually. You didn't kind of go over the top. It was very manageable, achievable, and what you did was great.
Needs to be this month, yeah. Just lots of grant applications, yeah.
Yeah. How's the grant application for the grand piano going?
I've got 4 have been submitted, and I've got 3 more coming up in the next couple of weeks because they're all May, June. They've all got to be submitted by the end of June, and then it's done, and then you wait till October to hear. So
Wow.
Yeah, okay. Well, at least you're getting it out of the way, and then you can focus on other things for a little while.
yes.
All right. Well, look, Daniel, without too much ado, I would love for you to just give us a really quick overview for those who didn't listen to the podcast, what kind of things you're doing at the moment and how it can help, how you can be of help to us, and we'll get some questions.
Absolutely. So what I'm doing at the moment, I have a studio that fluctuates between 95 to 100 students per month. It's a single teacher studio. I teach primarily in group lessons. But my background basically comes from the fact that about a decade and a half ago, me and a business partner wrote a summer camp curriculum, and it fell on me to promote that curriculum. And just being out of music school, I had no idea what I was doing. And so that was well, reality hits you hard, I guess you'll say, that it wasn't as easy as I thought it was going to be. And it sent me down a pathway of looking for answers to the question of why we couldn't get more students into that summer camp and then into the year-round program that we did in its wake. And so the experiences of promoting that camp and promoting my own studio, kind of in the back of my head, in the last, or maybe 5 to 7 years ago, I was thinking, I need to write about this. And that is kind of the genesis of the blog that I wrote, or that I write, growyourmusicstudio.com. And so that's what I'm doing. I'm still teaching as a private teacher. I work, in the last year, I've worked with dozens of music studios and music schools. I'm helping them grow in various ways, whether that's growth in staff, whether that's growth in their marketing or student number, even help studios with their just their administrative systems. I've had quite a few people come to me and just say, yeah, we're kind of where we want to be in terms of number, but we grew very quickly, and now it seems like our system really worked when there was only 50 kids or 75 kids or 100, but now we have 250. And I've kind of just helped them go through their system and look at how they can manage staff better, manage communication better, that sort of thing. So those are the kinds of things I'm up to right now. I stay pretty busy, but I was more than happy to jump on tonight and do this call. So I'm really excited to be here.
Fantastic. And we are excited to be here. Daniel, you are talked about in the forums really quite regularly, actually. You've got some great resources online. So the fact that you're able to give us your time, I really appreciate, and I know people are going to get lots out of it. So thanks again for being here. So I've just asked those of you who are watching the live, but you're not in the room, please start asking questions in the chat box there. I would love to pop them into the conversation as we have time. But I think given that we've got 3 people lined up here in the room, we might start with you guys if you've got any questions. So could I start with perhaps Karen? I know that you're a big fan of Daniel and his work. Have you got some questions for Daniel?
Yeah, a lot of questions. In fact, I met Daniel at MTMA conference 2 months ago, so it's great seeing you again here. Yeah, and
we all went out to lunch. Amy Chaplin, Joy Moran, you, a couple other folks.
Right.
We snuck it in on, I think, one of those days. Yeah.
So I am very curious of how to convince parents on board with group lesson. So do you mind if we do some role play? I'll pretend I'm the parent who prefer the traditional private lesson model.
Got it. So let me ask you a question before you go there, because we're getting into it. This is great, because believe it or not, this is something that I actually do with people, not on a regular basis, but yeah. So let me ask you a question. Would this be a parent that you're talking to for the first time, or one that you've already told, hey, we're going to group lessons, and then maybe they're coming back with questions for you? Can you kind of give me an idea of the background there?
You mean brand new student or the current student?
I thought you were saying that it was going to be a current student. Is that true?
I haven't really thought that far.
Okay, because I would handle those things very differently. So if you want to pick one, yeah, if you want to pick one, I would, I'll go with either one.
Okay, let's go with brand new student.
Can you do new? I think that I'd like to hear new also.
So new student. So I will be honest, the new student, in my opinion, is actually the easier student. I think it is much, much harder in a kind of a traditional lesson format studio. When the hardest person to convince, so to speak, is the parent that has already gotten used to working with you in a certain way, and then you're telling them that you're changing the game on them. So a new student is actually much easier than a parent that you've already been working with. So that's kind of the first thought. The second thought would be, well, actually, let me just leave it there. So first student, kind of give me an idea of what you're looking to, what they might say to you that you're curious about, or just kind of give me a little bit more background about, or do you just want me to tell you what I'd say?
Okay, so I grew up learning piano.
Okay, right.
One-on-one, and I think that I got the most attention that way. Got
it. Okay, got it. All right, so typically what I'll do with a new family is, so if it's a new family, they've already gone through the process of checking me out, getting information. We've traded emails, we've had phone call. At a certain point, they're ready to sort of semi-commit. So I have them come in for an introductory lesson, and that introductory lesson, there's no charge for that. So throughout this whole process, I'm not necessarily telling them this is a group lesson studio. I'm keeping very focused on the things that my students are doing and the outcomes that my students are getting. And I think that's really important. So throughout the process of us having a conversation, getting to know each other, I'm constantly talking about the things that kids in my studio are doing. So when a student actually comes in for a trial lesson, or introductory lesson, I like to call it, I put them through the whole introductory lesson. And at the end, what I'll do is I'll sit down with this, or I'll finish up with the student. They've had a good experience there. They've laughed. I tell a lot of jokes. I make fun of myself. I make fun of them if I can tell that they have a good sense of humor. The kid. And then what I'll do is I'll kind of turn to the parent and I'll say, so let me tell you what I'm seeing here. And I talk about what I observed in the child. And then that's when I'll ask them, have you ever taken lessons before? And whether they've taken lessons before or not, it kind of doesn't matter because I already know what I'm going to say to them. But in your example, you said that, you, and I will just role play. I'll just refer to you now. So you, the parent, have already taken lessons. So this is really what I would say to them. I'd say, so did you ever take lessons before? And you would say, yes. Perfect. Great. Then you know exactly what I'm getting ready to describe to you, because I started lessons when I was 4 years old. And I was taught in the very traditional model. And in the traditional model of teaching piano lessons, something happens in almost every studio. It's that teacher teaches the facts and then sends the student home to learn the music on their own. Well, I don't do that in my studio. That's not what I do. And I want to tell you a little bit about what I do. And that is, I actually have, for the entire first year, I have students learn their music with me 100% of the time. Every single song is learned here. And since you took lessons, you know that, like, you would have gone over your music with your teacher, but you wouldn't have gotten to the place where you could actually say you learned it. You might have sight read it, you might have played it through a few times, but it never got to the place where it was internalized, and maybe you were even playing from muscle memory. And what I'm telling you is that every student for the first year here, they leave with most or all of their songs learned. And here's what that does. That means that when they get home, that they're not looking at the piano and seeing it as a source of stress. They're looking at a place where, oh, I already know what I have to do on that thing. And so the reason I can actually do that with kids is because I have kids stay here for an hour. I have them stay here for an hour each week. all my beginners meet with me in these small accelerated groups. And when they finish that beginning program, then they kind of go out into that more traditional lesson environment. And once they get there, you know, it's kind of appropriate at that point because the needs of the learner change. So the question I have for you, you know, talking about all this is, you know, what days are you best available? I teach Monday through Friday. And then I just shut up and let them tell me. And so what I'm getting at, there's a couple things there, is that what I want parents to see is that the results that my students are getting are directly connected to the way that they practice. By the way, I say that almost word for word to every parent that comes to the studio. And I mean, I'll just say it, like I'm just reporting facts here, but pretty much if someone comes in, they sign up. And I know that's probably true for most teachers. Most teachers say if they can actually get someone in for a trial lesson or an intro lesson, that they'll sign up. But it's very rare that I mean, I can't remember the last time I had a parent say, oh, it's a group, well, then we're not coming here. I mean, I don't know if I can remember the last time it happened.
So the introductory lesson you have with the student, the parents also in the room, and is it a group format as well?
No, they meet me one-on-one, and the parent, I tell the parent they have to stay, because I want them to see what I did during the lesson, and want them to see how much fun the child's having. And then someone has to do it. It either has to be you or it has to be me. And I'd rather take the stress off you and just do it myself. So I don't even know if and this might be the last thing I say unless you have another question, but I don't even know if the particular things I say matter. It's just that I've thought this through prior, and I sound pretty convincing, I think. And I think parents they just go along with it. Like, they don't have the energy to argue with me. Sometimes I just wonder if it's that.
Can I just jump in with a question from our viewers? Laura asks, can the parent observe a group lesson if he or she wishes?
Yeah, there are a few parents. So because I do group, I invite parents to drop off and leave. And what I will tell you is, in any given year over the last 5 years, I maybe could count on one hand, 5 fingers, how many parents actually sit in. So I always say to parents, oh, you can sit in if you want. I have this, comfy leather bench right here where you can see right into the room if you want to stay. No one ever does, because since it's an hour, like the local grocery store is like 2 minutes from me, and I know a lot of parents go to the grocery store and do some shopping while they're in there. But every once in a while, I'll have a new family that comes in that either didn't know me from before or wasn't referred by another family in my studio, and so they don't know me from Adam. And some parents are a little more concerned, about their kids or whatever, and so cautious, they might sit in, just cautious. That's a good word, Tim. They're a little more cautious with their kids, and so they might want to sit in just to see. But I tell you, parents will sit in and they're like looking, and I know some of those parents are maybe secretly a little bit suspicious. I can just pick it up from their body language. And within like 10 minutes, it's dead quiet in that room because of my opening procedure of what I have kids do in those first 10 minutes. Within 10 minutes, they're like their head is down for the next 50, like on their phone. And then they never come back in, because just what we do is like, we're getting a lot done, but it isn't necessarily interesting to watch.
And there's 2 schools of thought on that, of course, because my good friend Paul, who many of you guys know, Paul Myatt, one of our expert teachers, has a large franchise music school, and he has parents sit in, and they're quite an important part of the lesson. So, it's 2 different ways to go. There's no, I don't think you'd be saying that that's the way you do it, but it has to be the way you do it, of course.
Yeah.
Karen, does that answer your question?
Yes. Daniel's very, very thorough. I enjoy listening to how you interact with parents.
What about for the kids who you've been teaching for 10 years one-on-one, and then you suddenly realize that actually you can get better results, you'd prefer to do group, and you want to change over? That was the other half of your question, Karen. Yeah. Daniel, have you got any tips on that? And you said that was the harder one.
That's a little more involved. And so I think for me, with the new family, it really all centers around that enrollment process and that introductory lesson. So everything happens there. If I was going to convert, which, I mean, in the last year, I've helped, and this is no exaggeration, I've helped 15 different studios convert over to either all or mostly group lessons. And it's a little bit more of an involved process. So I'm just going to take it at a very high level and say that, first off, number one tip, if you leave with anything, never ask your families if they want to go to group lessons. In fact, just write this down. Like, seriously, get out a piece of paper right now. Never ask your families anything. Never ask your families their opinion on anything in your studio. But especially do not ask if they want group lessons, because you're going to get probably 100% no rate. Like, you're going to get 100% no. And then what do? Do you do it anyway? So there have been people who've come to me where they've actually already done that, made that mistake, and they're like, well, what do I do now? And I'm like, well, it's going to be a little bit harder. So that being the case, so with that caveat out of the way, what I'd say is that I never want to leave this up to trying to convince parents one by one. And this could be just a function of the fact that I have a larger studio and that I think more in terms of communicating in mass to the families in my studio. But anytime I have a policy change, anytime that I have a rate change, anytime that I'm changing anything, basically all of my communication comes through email, and the only in-person or over-the-phone contact is really probably with people who have specific questions. So I would basically, and this is kind of the big broad overview, I would basically send out 3 emails. I would send out one email basically announcing that I've got a new program in my studio, and do you want to join it? The second email would be fleshing out what it is more, and then basically figuring out what your response rate is going to be, so how many parents are actually going to be on board. And then the third email is just reminding parents prior to the format change to the group, reminding them that their new format is starting, like in August or something like that. It's a little bit more involved. Like, the language and the wording is a little bit more. It's.
I understand that you're giving us a very holistic overview, because obviously we haven't got enough time to go into it. And look, if we're finding that a lot of the questions today are about group, then maybe we could do something specifically on group. That could be something we go into more detail on. But I appreciate you just giving us the overview, and that makes a lot of sense. But I think the thing you said not to do is probably the biggest takeaway from today, right?
Yeah, and so. I mean, just 2 very brief thoughts to that. One is that, something that really surprised me, because I started the blog as a kind of business blog. But what was really interesting is teachers being teachers, like, as soon as they caught wind that like something was that I do things a little bit differently in my studio educationally, like, that's what everybody started asking me about when I first launched the blog. I was like, no, I want to talk about marketing, and everyone's asking me about group. And so that kind of leads me to my second point. That in reality, people asking me about that really actually helped me see something that I've been taking for granted, which is the fact that so much of what I do and what makes my studio unique, which has huge implications for business, because business 101 is you put out a unique product. Most piano teachers say, oh, I'm teaching piano lessons. And then they wonder why piano parents treat them like a commodity. Well, it's because you set yourself up as a commodity. And I think, Tim, you and I had talked about this in the podcast. So I think what teachers asked me about the group helped me realize was, wow, that actually really was my niche, but I've just taken it for granted because I did it primarily to make more income, not necessarily to be unique. I would have found other ways to be unique. It just so happens that the way that I do things is that. Second thought, my second brief thought is that, and I'll be very brief about this because I didn't come on here like to self-promote or anything like that. But what I'm doing, I know Tim has themed months on his blog. I don't really do theme months. I think I'm just too lazy. But I am doing a theme month this month, and that is I'm actually writing I'm writing a lot and doing videos about group lessons. So I've already released like a couple things. I've got a huge interview from a group lesson studio that I actually work with, where they have 250 students. They're all in group lessons. They make magic with the program that they use. And I'm going to be releasing that interview next week. But anyway, if people really are interested in group lessons, they should just pop over to the blog and just kind of check out the content that I'm putting out there. Again, not trying to self-promote, just saying that if there is a lot of interest there, I am specifically writing on it this month, so I thought I would at least mention it.
It's great. And your website is growyourmusicstudio.com. If anyone hasn't been there, highly recommend it. I also recommend your Facebook page because you do put out some great videos. And we're going to be focusing on group teaching in September. So we'll have a lot of articles about that then. And I have a feeling, Daniel, I might be knocking on your door again at some stage. Anyway, now look, we've got lots of questions racking up, but for the people in the room, Ellen, did you have any questions you'd like to ask?
Yeah, I listened to the podcast, so that was a great way to get ready for this mastermind. And the thing that sticks from the podcast was your view that when you're advertising, that paper advertising is no longer effective, that Google AdWord and Facebook Booster, I believe, or advertising in Facebook were the two primary ways that you have found to be the most effective.
Most effective, yeah.
Yeah. So I just want to get a little bit into the Google AdWord because I indeed did get into Google Ad. I finally stopped resisting those phone calls every day at noon, and
they're tenacious.
Decided they are awful, and I finally just did it, and immediately. Oh, and the question that came up, there were two big questions. Like they asked for a limit of how much money a day, your budget, and I was like, I have no idea. So I put $10, and where I am, I'm in New York City, and I hit $10 immediately, and yet I didn't get any inquiries. I didn't get anything, but I maxed it 2 days in a row, and I realized, what am I doing wrong? I mean, I'm not getting any response. And what I realized was that I had forgotten two things, which is my demographic. I have people coming to me in the Hamptons. They're from New York City, but I did not put East Hampton piano lessons. And so I did. I changed that, and I put, these are summer classes, and I'm still getting the $10 max. But I'm not getting any registrations. I'm getting a lot of interest, but I'm not getting anything. So I'm curious, at what point do I go bankrupt?
Sure.
At what did I put it too high? What did I do that I'm getting the wrong interest? People are clicking, but I'm not getting anything. So
yeah.
I'm confused, and I'm a little worried that and I did get the $150 promotional they did. Like if I hit 150, they match it. But at the rate I'm going, I'm going to hit it in 15 days. But I haven't gotten anything.
So with you being from New York City, I'm going to do my best impersonation of Lenny Briscoe from Law and Order and ask you a bunch of questions. Is that okay?
That is great.
Okay. Did you have Google make the ads for you, or did you make the ads for yourself?
I made the ads.
Okay. When you made the ads, did you tell Google what zip codes to display those ads in?
I told them to do East Hampton, Amagansett, Bridgehampton, Sag Harbor, Montauk. Those are the surrounding neighborhoods in the Hamptons.
Okay.
And then I put in New York City, New York.
Okay, that's your problem right there.
Okay.
If I were you, what I would do is start with like your 3 immediate zip codes. Set the $10 a day budget. So the zip codes you're in, and maybe 2 zip codes where you have a lot of students coming from.
Yeah.
Because basically Google is going to display that ad to all the 5 boroughs in New York City. And so you're going to you'd probably hit that $10 max in like 30 seconds at the beginning of every day. And so that's the first thought. The second thought is the reason I would tell you to restrict geographically at first to maybe a smaller area by zip code and not by town name is because, and this is kind of getting technical, but the way that a lot of broadband companies run their thing is that it's not just going to be within the city limits. it will actually be, there could be someone outside the city limits where their broadband connection actually runs into the city limits. And so you're going to hit all those people in the out there as well. So you want to go by zip code, not by town name. That's the second thought. The third thought is that you have not done anything wrong by doing $10 a day. I actually, for my studio, do $12 a day. Most months, I'm hitting anywhere between $120 to $200 in advertising because that's what I've chosen to do. If I get really full, I'll just shut the ads off, which is one of the, I think I said this on the podcast interview, is that, you know, that's a brilliant thing. You can't do that with paper advertising. And then if I could give one piece of advice to anyone who's considering AdWords or doing AdWords currently, it's never, for piano teaching, unless you're a giant school, do not run on display network. Only run on search network, and only run search network optimized ads. And I could get into the reasons why to do that, but just take my word on this. If you want to light stacks of money on fire, just do display network. But if you want to, you know, get a good result out of your AdWords experience, only use search network. And if none of this makes sense, then, you know, just go Google it and figure, you know, but if you do AdWords, you're considering it, it's something you want to know.
That's what I'm using. Of course,
good.
Out in the Hamptons, the people that are looking for my classes are coming from New York City. They're not coming from, they come out for 2 months, and I'm doing an 8-week program. My year-round program is completely booked. I just was looking for a particular, and that's where I got stuck. Most of the people out here, they're working full time. Their kids are in other programs. They literally run away from me. So I either am unemployed or I have to do New York. Yeah. That's why I'm at a.
That's a really interesting. That's a really interesting problem to crack. My first thought, and I'll just be very brief with this, would be look at all your current students.
Okay.
And find out. No, see, because your current students live in the Hamptons, right?
Yeah, they don't talk to each other.
Yeah.
This is a totally different group, and they don't continue in September. They're gone. Yeah. But I can charge twice as much. So when my classes are full, I'm doing really well. But this year, for some reason.
Linda, you were going to say something. What were you going to say?
Well, I was just going to say, Ellen, could you hit the AdWords like 8 weeks before your summer holidays start in New York City? Like
that's what I'm doing right now.
Yes, summer hasn't started yet. Yeah, burn stacks of money for 8 weeks. And then stop it, because once summer comes, they're already in the Hamptons or wherever they're going. That's right.
Wondering how effective it is if it's hitting the peak at, you know, as you said, in 30 seconds.
Yeah. So here's the idea that I would run with if I were you. This is totally just me brainstorming, but it's where I would start. Would be Upper East Side, Soho, Tribeca, like some of those neighborhoods, maybe specifically target not Google AdWords, but Facebook ads in those neighborhoods. So like up by Hunter College or whatever. And basically say, are you, look, don't take this ad copy, but it's basically this idea. Are you vacationing in the Hamptons for the summer, or are you spending the summer in the Hamptons? Amazing piano program there. And basically trying to weed people out with the ad copy so that the only people that would actually click on that ad would be people, because that is so niche, that's really unique. And basically say like, it's a summer program designed for kids who are going to be getting on your nerves and playing their Xbox all day while they're in Hamptons. So do something constructive with them for the next 8 weeks. I mean, you know, I'm being kind of a jerk, but no,
I know where you're going. That's good.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'd go. And the reason I picked those specific neighborhoods is those are wealthier neighborhoods. And so now, if I were to refine the idea, it would actually be, see if you can find out somewhere online, like the demographics of the kinds of people who actually go to the Hamptons and stay there for the summer. You know, like figure out the neighborhoods where all the Wall Street traders live, or figure out where all the Goldman Sachs bankers live, and that kind of thing. And
I can do that. I have lists of email people with their zip codes, so I could do that. All right, that's a good idea. I hadn't thought of that one.
And I mean, all these advertising, Facebook advertising, I'm thinking of how I can put a course together for you guys on that from what I've learned from Facebook advertising, because it's, you know, it's such a hard thing to learn, and you can light piles of money on fire very, very easily. So more ideas on that later. Thank you, Daniel, for your thoughts. I know it's really hard to come up with good concrete suggestions, given there are so many permutations and combinations of demographics and all that kind of stuff. So what I will just say is, Laura's just asked, can you repeat about the search network optimized ads? What did she say not to do with Google AdWords?
Was the question for me?
Yeah, for you.
Okay. I said don't run on display network.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's what she just wanted to, and she said use an optimized ad in the search network. Is that what you said? Right.
So the kinds of ads you would run on display network would be more general, like, hey, piano lessons for kids in, the Hamptons. Whereas if you were running a search network optimized ad, you want it to be way more specific, because if someone's actually searching for it, they're already considering lessons. So the kind of ad you'd write for someone that you're just displaying an ad to, like, have you considered piano lessons, is going to be different than someone who actually goes to Google, types in, I want piano lessons, and then your ad comes up. You want that ad to be a little more, the message to be a little more directed to the parent who's typed in, I want piano lessons for my child. It's going to be a different message. So that's what I mean when I say a search network optimized ad.
Makes sense. Yeah, great. Linda, just before we get to you, if you've got any questions, I just wanted to mention, Margaret has said for Ellen, why not run the ad in the Hamptons to just the rental companies? Then they can pass the information on to their renters. Another idea. Might be going a little bit too far out, I don't know, but thank you, Margaret, for that suggestion.
It's an idea.
So I think I'm up to date with those questions. I do realize that for those of you watching, there are some questions pending, but Linda, did you have anything you'd like to ask Daniel?
Yeah, I'm starting a teacher mentoring stream in my business. Because I do it all the time for free online. Well, I do, and I've got years of experience and a lot of knowledge, and I do it on Tim's forums as well. And I try.
Thank you.
It's all right. You're gonna pay me a commission. No, so I wanted to, because I live in a tiny country town, really remote. I wanted to know, how do you advertise that, because there's so many teachers out there wanting just help, one-on-one stuff, too embarrassed to ask on the Facebook pages because they get slammed, confidential, either email, Skype, video exchange, whatever. But how do you advertise that sort of thing? Because it can almost be worldwide.
Yeah.
It's English, yeah.
The thing that occurs to me kind of to say to you is that what you're talking about there is actually what happened with my blog. Basically, is that I knew in some way that I wanted to mentor people in the business aspects of piano teaching, because what many teachers think are piano teaching problems or educational problems are actually business problems. And so I thought, people are wandering out in the desert looking for answers that actually aren't satisfying answers. Like, in other words, the reason your kids aren't committed isn't because you have not, done enough creative games in your studio, or because you're not doing the 40-piece challenge, or whatever it is. Okay, so to get to your question, I think in 2017 it's content. I think if you actually, since you already are mentoring a lot of teachers, you probably have a mental map of the kinds of questions that you get asked over and over and over again.
Time.
Right. And so, to put out some kind of resource that answers that, and to promote it.
How do you get paid for it? How do you get paid for it? Because I've got 4 trainee teachers at the moment. We do Skype or phone calls every couple of weeks. I just wanted to expand on that, so that, because I'm a one-on-one, it seems to work very well. It is more about teaching stuff. Right, there's a little bit of business stuff, but not a hell of a lot, because there's a lot of that on the web that's freely available now, but it's just the one-on-one things. I've got so-and-so who's doing this. you know, this child. Got any suggestions for me? Yeah.
Okay.
That sort of
So
thing.
when you say have you charged for it, are you asking about the people you're already working with, or
No,
future?
because I charge them now. It's just how do you
Got it.
get the word out there that you have actually got a formalized teaching program or training program for teachers?
So this is my opinion. It's one of many. It's the strategy that I took. You know, so I'm giving all my secrets away now. This
Good,
is
keep it up. That's all.
yeah, right. Hey, you know what? Look, if anybody wants to copy this, be my guest. I will tell you it's a lot of work. So you know, I'm not going to lie about that. But what I would say is that when I started my blog, and again, the only reason I'm telling you this story is because I think it directly applies to you.
Yep. Go for it.
Especially since what you're thinking of is a worldwide audience, which is a very ambitious goal, and I think it's a great goal. So, is that, you know, the real value these days is not in information, and the real value isn't even in money. The real value these days is in attention. And if you can get attention, you can do just about anything, I think, online. And so when I started my blog, I optimize not for money or for products or for putting out, you know, courses or whatever. I optimize just to get attention. And the honest truth is when I started that blog, and I know Leela Viss has been on this mastermind, and I was telling her about this, and she's like, I don't believe that for a second. But I said, no, it really is true. I had zero plans for how the blog would make money, so to speak. I literally entered into it just thinking, if I can put things out there that are actually attention worthy, not just, oh, can I make a bunch of noise and put a bunch of, you know, crap out there.
Not interested in that.
Yeah. If I can actually put things out there that are attention worthy, then, and I can earn the trust, and I literally mean that, earn the trust of people, then we'll see where this goes. And what I would say to you is that, or anyone, you know, listening who, you know, has aspirations to, publish music, or to publish a book, or to create a blog around some topic, that is really the way. You get attention, and the way to do that is content. And I chose social media as a content distribution network because that's really where all the piano teachers are. If you go look for piano teachers anywhere else on the web, you will not find them. You will not find them on Twitter. You do not find them on Instagram, not really. The place where community truly happens is on Facebook. We all know this. And so, you know, I participated, as I'm sure you have, on Facebook forums for years. And so I kind of knew the language. I knew what worked. I knew what didn't work. And I just put things out there. I scaled what worked, and I stopped talking about things that people weren't interested in. And so what I would say to you is, if you want attention, then I would just plan for 6 months of not even thinking about how to monetize it. Just put good stuff out there for 6 months and see what happens. Just think of it as an experiment.
Yep. Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much for that.
Yeah. And I would second that. It's pretty much how I
because it's exactly what's happened to you, Tim.
Yeah, precisely. And I've written down, and I'll make a note when the video replay comes out, the value in business today is in attention. I've taken that quote from you, Daniel. It's so true. It's about audience and attention. I think, Linda, if people who are interested in teacher mentorship find some of the things that you're doing, then they go, oh, this sounds interesting. She knows exactly what I need. And then the next part of that starts rolling. So
I like that. Because I've watched you, Katie Wardrobe, Daniel McFarlane, all the guys that I follow, Diane Heady. That's what they do. Yeah. Common sense, right? Yeah, done.
That's a great question. It's a great question. Okay, well, look, I'll get to some of the questions now from people who are watching. Thank you very much for leaving them. So Brendan asks, Daniel, for you, when should I start advertising for a new studio that I plan to open in my home? And how many students should I expect to be able to start with in the first week? Good question.
When you should start advertising is 6 months ago. No, I'm kidding. So if you are starting out, the route that I would go would be make a good website, and actually, I don't even know if I would start with paid advertising necessarily. I would actually probably start with promoting it for free in different, online forums or that sort of thing, in local things. So like in the United States, we have nextdoor.com. Obviously there's tons of local Facebook groups. I've written articles about this. about how to get students using Facebook groups. And the whole purpose just to see what the response is on the website. So, I think if you have a website, you need to be able to, and I'm sure you do, and I'm sure most people listening do, know how to, use the basic functions of it. And one of the basic functions is seeing how much traffic you get in a month. So if you're getting 200, 300 visits to your site per month because of all either the ads you're running or the Facebook group posting that you're doing or whatever you're doing to get people eyeballs on your site, if you're getting 200 to 300, you need to be getting at least 4, 5, 6 people actually contacting you. If it's less than that or you're getting none, there's something wrong with the site. Once you've determined that the site is viable, so you're actually getting requests through it, then I would start putting money into paid ads. Otherwise, you just, again, the famous lighting stacks of money on fire analogy we've been using all night, that is true for you. You could have a website that is just absolutely terrible. And I'm speaking hypothetically, I'm not speaking specifically to you, but you could have a website that just is not designed, or it doesn't have the right things on it, or it doesn't have the right words that would attract parents to contact you or spark their curiosity or their interest. And then if you're just dumping money into ads to get people to that site, I mean, nothing's going to happen. So I would start with either a conservative ad buy, which I know I was just saying that, but a determined amount of money. I'm going to pay for ads until 500 people come to the site. And if 500 people come and no one asks me for lessons, we need to go back to the drawing board. Or do Facebook group strategy or some sort of traffic strategy, make sure the site works, and then just dump as much money into it as possible. So if the site works, I mean, then you just got to license to print money, and then you should absolutely put as much money into ads as possible. Because if for every 100 people you're getting 1 student, then why would you not try to get 10,000 people in front of that site? I mean, it's just a no-brainer at that point.
Yeah, I like that idea of you better test your site first before you start throwing money at getting eyeballs to your site. You want to make sure that it's going to convert, or get people to press that contact me button for the free lesson or whatever it is. So I'd almost say one other thing is to decide on your website what you want people to do and make sure that you can track that action. So you're right, Daniel, I'd agree. It's about eyeballs at least, but is it going to convert to people getting a trial lesson or calling your office or whatever it is too?
And for specific, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but for specific tips, there's a video on my Facebook page where I have a 25-minute conversation with a teacher just south of Melbourne, actually. She has a studio. I can't remember how many students are in it, but we just had a 25-minute chat about her website, and I told her a bunch of things she could fix on it. And she said, I think she came back to me later and said that she did that, and as soon as she did some of those suggestions, she immediately saw an increase in the number of people contacting her, or something to that effect. But there's a lot of good tips in that video, so I would just recommend that video.
Great. Let us know after this. If you could send me a link to that, I'll link it up with this video too. We can send people to it.
Okay.
Pretty good. A couple of people have asked, is it possible to quickly give an overview of the steps you take in a group lesson, a standard group lesson, main kind of chunks?
Okay. The chunks are, so this is interesting because I do group lessons really different than well, actually, I don't know if anyone does it like I do it. But in essentially, kids come in, they warm up old material and show me old material that they're coming back with. And then about halfway through, we switch over to new material, and then we kind of run out the clock on new material. If a kid's really prepared, they might have more time to do new material. But I mean, those are really the two big chunks. I'll have kids do, so part of the reason it's difficult is because even though it's a group, I do think of the kids individually. So I might have one kid who needs improvement with their note reading skills. So I might have them doing something completely different than everyone else to improve that kid's note reading skills. Meanwhile, my best student's over in the other corner, and they're passing 10 pages this week. And So I kind of split it out. So it's difficult to say because I don't think of the kids as a monolithic group. I think of them as individuals all needing specific things in the context of the group. And the group is just the format that I'm choosing to give those things to them. So, but in general, they show me old things and then we work on new things together. So, and it ends up being about an hour every week.
And do you use your headphones on a lot or a mix or off mainly? So playing out loud.
Basically headphones 100% of the time.
Right, because that's quite different to what other people do too. It just goes to show you can run these in all sorts of different ways.
Yeah.
Very.
Yeah. So
we can talk more about that in September, perhaps. One more question from the people watching, and then we'll start wrapping up with the guys live here. Margaret asks, how should I charge differently for group versus private? Currently, I teach a 45-minute private lesson and a 15-minute overlap with another student for duets or theory.
Got it. So I wrote about, no, I'm getting ready to write about this. My bad. I can't remember what I published already and what I haven't.
I have the same problem, don't worry.
Right. So I think there are a lot of things out there that are dipping their toe in the water of group lessons. And so there's like 20-20-20, partner lessons, off bench time, like where a lot of people are experimenting with the idea of I'm trying to do some sort of overlap. And I think, and I'm not saying this about you necessarily, Margaret, but when I get down and really talk to people one-on-one, a lot of what I found with a lot of teachers is a lot of it is just fear. They don't want to dive headlong into group lessons. They're trying to find something that can give them enough confidence. Like they're not confident enough to go to group lessons, so they do something like an intermediary step almost, and then they just stop there, I guess. And so what I would say in kind of answering that question is, I don't charge any less for group lessons. In fact, I know for a fact I'm the most expensive teacher in my area, and I do all group lessons, with obviously the beginners. So I don't think there necessarily has to be a connection between what you charge and the format that you're doing. It really comes down to the value of what you're doing, one, and two, how well you communicate that value to the parents. And so you could have the best group program in the world, but if you can't communicate the value of it to the parents or get them on board, is really what I'm saying, then you might be stuck charging below, a price that's much less than the value you're actually giving to those kids. So, it's one of those things where focusing it, and I know you're getting more than what you bargained for here, but I'm just giving advice, but we spent 20 years or 30 years, depending, 20 years, from the time we were small children, learning piano, doing all this stuff, becoming good piano players, going to university, some of us getting master's degrees, some of us getting certified by MTNA, like all this stuff. And we have all this value that we can offer to people. And then we don't spend any time learning how to sell. And, the advice I'd give to teachers is pick up some books on selling. Really think about how you communicate to families and how you communicate to parents. I mean, this is a big part of what I do with a lot of studios, is just getting them to learn how to communicate the value of what they do in a way that parents can hear and are actually interested in. And I think I'll leave it at that.
Brilliant. No, that's great. Yeah. Thank you very much. And Brendan has said, great info. Thank you for the answer to his question. Laura has asked, what's the most cost-effective way to put together a professional-looking website? Laura, you're going to have an absolute ball with next month's course, because we're doing an online studio launchpad, how to build a website from scratch using WordPress, how to update it, what plugins to use, what hosting to get, how to put it all together. Step by step. That's next month. Early next month is going to be released. So Laura, stay tuned for that. I think that's going to answer all those questions for you. All right. Any quick final questions from our panel live today?
No, just thank you.
Probably got lots of questions. Yeah. I know, but we're kind of running out of time.
Yeah.
You okay, Ellen?
Yeah, I need to run downstairs and change my ad.
Yeah. Okay. Love it. Well, look, I think we'll start wrapping things up. I did want to mention that next weekend, I'm going to be running a webinar with the Music Mentor Group team. So that's these guys are putting together a course for us in the Inner Circle, all about marketing, studio marketing. So online stuff, offline stuff, whether that works, how to do it if it does, branding, logos, retention, all this stuff. Course free for all of you guys in the Inner Circle. That'll be released in about a week's time. So do stay tuned for that. And if you can join us live on the webinar, then that would be very, very cool as well. As I say, next month, no live mastermind. Instead, we'll be having a glass of wine live, hopefully at some of these events. And I'm going to be putting together some event details at timtopham.com/meetup, MEETUP. And then you can find out how to come along and grab a drink or a bit of pizza or whatever we're going to be doing. All right. Thanks, everyone, for watching. A special thanks to Daniel. An absolute pleasure having you on the call today. Really appreciate your time.
Yeah, I love doing this.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah, I love doing stuff like this. So it's a lot of fun.
Oh, that's great. Well, you shouldn't say that because I think we might have you back maybe a little bit later this year for another chat, because there's obviously lots of questions about the group teaching, which is why we're doing it as a theme. So it could be fun to chat some more about that.
Yeah.
Beautiful. All right, everyone. Enjoy your night or day wherever you are in the world. Thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, guys.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.